Well, in a nutshell, to make it I'm in a nutshell. To make it real short, Panic, Static over here, and myself, we all went to Philadelphia University around the same time, and we were all DJing parties on campus, and we were DJing events together through the radio station that was on campus there. So, and at the time it was called WTEX. So, through that, we just continued to grow that working relationship, and I at the time had this underground independent hip hop show that I was doing on the radio station called Ill Vibe, just because I liked the name. You know what I mean? I felt like it. It just kind of it said, you know, everything that I wanted it to about what I was playing on the show. So and then from there, the name just kind of stuck with everybody. Everyone seemed to like it, and I believe Panic came up with the idea of it being a collective in the name somewhere, so it just naturally happened that way. So that was in 2000, September 2000-ish.
I believe so.
Yeah. And then shortly after, I guess it was within that year, or was it about a year later maybe, we invited Little Dave on board, and about a year ago from now, which would be 4 years after Ill Vibe officially started, we asked Skip Mode to jump on board. So officially there's 5 members in the crew right now. And although that is technically subject to change, it's probably not going to change for a long time. So 98 into 99. And then we just decided that, you know, we started DJing events off campus in Philadelphia. So when we figured we can really take this to another level, so we just decided to form an official group. So that was about mid 2000 when that happened, summer of 2000. So.
Well, I was always into hip hop music. I was always a fan. Well, I probably started being a fan when I was in 7th or 8th grade. And I kind of was just collecting music and you know, trying to find the new stuff and a lot of the stuff that people didn't have for a long time. And then I probably started DJing later in high school, sometime after my junior year, which is probably like late 96, 97, I think. So from there, you know, I was really just putting compilations together and mixtapes and stuff, and then started doing smaller parties, house parties, kinds of things like that. And then from there, I pretty much carried on. I kind of, since I started as a fan, like you know, I was following it for a while, and I didn't really know that I could actually be a part of it until I really just decided to start messing with a record player one day. And from there, you know, I realized that I could be a DJ. You know, I could actually play records and scratch and do all that stuff. So from that point on, you know, that's how it started. So that's pretty much it for me.
All right, this is Skip. I guess the reason I got into DJing was just like Cliff, you know, I was a long-time fan of the music and stuff. And around 7th and 8th grade, when the video shows were big, Yo MTV Raps, the Crush Raps, and all that stuff, you know, I always used to watch what the DJ was doing. It was always kind of the most attractive part of the, you know, the music side of it or whatever, what was going on. So. So anyway, I was just like watching the DJ, what he was doing in the videos and stuff, and, you know, looking at the equipment and kind of wondering what it was and what he was doing. So eventually, at a Crazy Eddie sale, when they went out of business, I picked up a mixer for $15 and hooked it up to my home stereo and just started scratching on it. And I did that for probably about 4 or 5 years. And then I finally, in like 95, got a set of turntables. So I guess that's when I officially became a DJ, got my 1200s, and from then on, I don't know, I just fell in love with it. Started watching the battle videos. It was more like the scratching and the battle side of things that kind of brought me into it. That intrigued me the most, but eventually, you know, I took that and took it other places. So, and I've been around, I don't know. It all comes full circle, you know. Sometimes I'm in the mood to like scratch and stuff like that. Sometimes I just want to play good jams and catch a vibe or whatever. But there's a lot of things I love about DJing. draw me into it day after day.
I've been DJing for about 14 years now, and the reason I got into it was because I had a mom and actually a dad too, who both had extensive music collections, meaning both records and tapes. And just from me being around that so much, I just used to basically live, breathe, and sleep music all the time. So it was kind of natural for me to just want to listen to music around the clock. And I guess kind of similar to Skip, how the video shows used to come on, and you see the DJ on TV, and you'd see hip hop growing like right before your eyes, and it just kind of made me I don't even want to say curious about where else I could take it, but it was just kind of a natural transition, just from playing records all the time to kind of wanting to manipulate them and see what else I could do with it. And so I started out with playing from CD to record, when on my mom's like rack system, and it was real awkward, and my tapes used to sound crappy, but still it was more about what I was doing with what I had versus having the latest standard of whatever the DJ equipment was. But my mom, I think she also got I think for her birthday my dad bought her some disco mixer, and I don't even understand why she owned it, but she had it for years, and it was just some like probably the worst possible example of what a mixer is. But when I was around, let's say 12 or 13 or so, my mom gave it to me. She said she didn't really need it anymore. So at that point is when I really started taking it serious, and I said, look, I think I need to put some money together, throw some DJ equipment on layaway. And from there I was doing parties, and the rest is history, as they say on Soul Train.
I basically got into it just from like listening to the radio, listening to like Radioactive, Vibes and Vapors, and like all those little underground shows. And that,
What year was that?
oh yeah, that was like junior year of high school. And
Number.
I have no idea.
90.
I can't even do the math anymore. What is that, like maybe 93, maybe?
94.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
And I had started getting records, like somebody gave me some free records at like the Black Expo, like some hip hop stuff. And then I kind of put together a little mock DJ setup with like a microphone mixer and a turntable and a tape recorder and all that. Started doing pause mixtapes and stuff like that. And then later on, when I went to college, I started a radio show, and just kept building off of that, and that's been doing all right. And then hooked up with these guys, and just went from there pretty much.
I've been roughly spending the same amount of time as Static. I started around 91, something like that, and I was at an older cousin's graduation party, and a bunch of her friends who were older than me, they were all there DJing together, and that was my first real introduction in person of what the DJ can do at a function like that. And I guess it was just kind of relative to the kind of person that you are if DJing interests you, because I was always into production, not necessarily not beat making, but was always into figuring out like what is it behind an event that's going on that makes it what it is. And I've been more of a behind the scenes kind of person, so that always kind of that's something that's parallel with that. The DJ doesn't always have to be seen, but the DJ is always has their influence on what's happening. So so just that alone was enough for me to get interested in it. So I got my first mixer in like summer of '91, and watching MTV and stuff, you just keep picking up tricks as you see new things and what you can do, and then from there I just never stopped. So that's where I'm at right now. But I think I speak for everybody here. On a more basic level, none of us got into this because we thought that there was going to be like tons of money and opportunities and fame in it, and you know what I mean. It was just something that we wanted to do, whether we were in our bedroom and no one knew what we were doing, or if we're doing 3-4 parties a week. You know what I mean? It's just underneath all the the extra plastic stuff that goes along with being a DJ. It's just, if you just love to play records, if you just like music that much, then it just happens naturally, and that's really the bottom line. You know what I mean?
Just to expand on what Phil was saying, I was just saying, around the time we were all coming up, there wasn't even a whole lot of glamour and glitz surrounding the DJ at the time. It was mostly about the MC, like coming up through the early 90s, and you know, production was coming more into play with the primos and showbiz and stuff like that. But the DJ was still always in the background, so I mean, you know, we all started for the love of it, just for the love of music. I know, like, for me, the first DJ mix I ever really heard, or like the example of what a DJ could do, was Grandmaster Flash on Wheels of Steel. It was like the first mega mix. I don't know if it's credited officially as, but it's certainly the first one I heard. It's like the first recorded mega mix stuff of all the like disco breaks back to back with scratching in between and stuff like that. And that was always a real, like, you know, interesting song to me. And then, like I said, you know, I didn't necessarily follow any one DJ until around, you know, the mid '90s again, when you know, when I first started getting serious about buying a set of turntables and stuff, and I was watching the X-Men and like watching Rob Swift do beat juggles, and that was a big influence on me for sure. Like, and then the battle video, DJ Swamp. I liked a lot DJ Craze coming up in the later '90s. Q-Bert. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Well, I know pretty much like Panic was saying, I was definitely watching a lot, because I mean, we were all young when we first started getting started. It wasn't like we could go out to clubs and see and really, you know, have a hands-on experience and kind of see what they were doing. So a lot of it was from TV, and I know for me it was like watching like Daddy Rich, you know, down with Third Bass, and watching like DJ Scratch with EPMD, and you know, DJ Miz, and Jazzy Jeff, of course, Cash Money and Marvelous. It was a lot of that, but you still weren't really getting an accurate showcase of what they could do. You were kind of just being reminded that, yeah, the DJ is important in hip hop. But I think when I got to the point where I was getting turntables, it was a lot of listening to the radio for me, and kind of trying to emulate what they were doing. And when I say they, I mean J Ski, of course, DJ Ran. These are all Philly-based radio DJs, but those two were very, very, yeah, actually, in Cosmic Kev too. Those three were very instrumental in, you know, making me want to try to take what I was doing to the next level all the time.
And I will say,
one group or one DJ for a group that I can remember that definitely showcased what they could do within the stage show was Jam Master Jay for Run DMC, and I can remember that, and I used to definitely want to try to emulate what he was doing.
For me, it was, in terms of the local DJs that had major influence, it was a little different because I grew up closer to New York City. So when Funk Flex first started, I need to make that clear. When he first started on Hot 97 in New York City, he was really getting busy on two turntables with two copies of something, and I didn't see it as much by that point, but I heard it pretty much every day when he would have his show on the radio. And from what he was doing, you know, listening to it, and you know, he was actually putting some craft into it. So at the time, so from there, that was my first major influence as to what you can do as a hip hop DJ, more than just playing the records and blending them in and out. But then immediately after that, the next major influence on me was seeing Kid Capri DJ for Def Comedy Jam, and even though it was only like a 2-minute clip at the end of every show, I would just kind of wait for that to see what he was going to do this week with what two records, you know what I mean? Just so I had some sort of fresh, new influence and inspiration as to, you know, how you can do different things to make it sound like it's your own, your own flavor or whatever. So, so those two things in the early '90s, that's what kept me interested, you know what I mean? It did kind of fall off in terms of mainstream, though. After that point, after the mid-90s, the DJ kind of fell in the background, and was pretty much eliminated after a while. You know what I mean? It just wasn't anything. There wasn't anything mainstream that was supporting the DJ anymore. So it was, you know, from that point on, it was like DMC and ITF battle tapes and DVDs, whatever that other DJs would, you know, search after in order to get that next influence for, you know, what the next stuff is. You know what I'm saying?